Why, hello there. So, do you want to be a consecutive interpreter? Do you know what it takes to succeed in this field of work? The skills necessary? Or what even is interpreting? If these questions are currently floating around in your head, you're in the right place. I'm going to answer them and more in this video. My name is Santiago, but you can call me Santi. I have been part of the beautiful world of interpreting for quite some time now. Over a decade actually, as an interpreter and an interpreter trainer. I imagine you're here because you recently saw an ad or post on some job search site about an OPI consecutive interpreter position, and you're curious as to whether it is the right job for you. The first item here is the question, what is interpreting? Well, if I had to very briefly describe what it is, I would say it is to help people who don't speak each other's language communicate orally. Imagine there are two people, person A and person B. They're trying to engage in conversation but speak different languages. They say things but can't understand each other, which can be very frustrating. Luckily, they have you, the interpreter. So, when person A speaks, you, the interpreter, listen attentively to understand what they're saying. Then, you repeat that message, what you understood, with its details and meaning, to person B, in person B's language. Now, person B is able to understand. They reply, and you once again listen attentively to them, understand what they're saying, and repeat that statement to person A in person's A language. Rinse and repeat. From this job description, I am pretty sure you can already tell what the most important skills are. It's language proficiency, listening, and comprehension. Depending on the type of interpreting you perform, other skills are also invaluable, but these are the main three. Language proficiency is the starting point. Without proper language proficiency, being an interpreter is going to be near impossible. Why? Because when you interpret, you need to understand the language almost, if not perfectly. Then use it correctly to convey information accurately back and forth. If you don't have the proper, necessary skills in one or both languages, like grammar, syntax, or vocabulary, then you won't understand the speakers and they won't understand you either. Listening is next. Specifically, active listening. It means to pay close attention when hearing other people speak, making sure no detail or nuance is ignored. This allows the interpreter to capture the statement correctly, to then interpret it completely and accurately. Let me show you how important it is to have sharp listening in interpreting, because even the most brief lapse in it can lead to a major mistake. One person says, "You need to make the payment by 5 p.m." But the interpreter hears, "You need to make the payment," gets distracted, and then hears 5 p.m. without hearing the word by. So they end up interpreting, "You need to make the payment at 5 p.m. That small change, swapping the word by for at, changes the meaning of the statement. Now the listener thinks that they have to make that payment specifically at 5 p.m., but in reality, they're meant to pay before 5 p.m. This will probably cause the person who's making the payment a major problem, because when they go to the office at 5 p.m., they will find out that the place is already closed. Then we have comprehension, because when you interpret more than just words. You interpret meaning. When you take in information in the form of listening, you have to process that information and understand it. So when it's time for you to convert it into the other language, you know how to put the sentence together, which means using the right words, verbs, expressions, etc. Idioms lend themselves perfectly to show the importance of comprehension in interpreting. Let's use one English idiom for this example. Call it a day. the first thing I would like you to do is just to translate the words in that idiom literally, word for word, into the other language, whether it is Spanish, Portuguese, German, Arabic, etc. Now, let's go over the meaning of that idiom. To call it a day means to stop doing something, usually because you're either tired or have not been very successful. So, for example, if you have been fishing with a friend for 6 hours but have caught nothing, you can tell them that it's time to call it a day because you don't want to waste more time on an activity that hasn't been very fruitful. Now, ask yourself, did the literal translation of the words call it a day in the other language convey the same meaning? The answer is almost always no. In order to interpret idioms correctly, you have to understand their meaning. That way, you can pick the right words or an expression in that other language to help the listener understand it too. Think about it. How would you say that idiom correctly in the other language? So these are the primordial skills for all types of interpreting. Now, over the phone interpreters do consecutive interpreting, which requires an additional set of skills, like short-term memory and note-taking. We will talk about them later. So, how do you feel about this job opportunity thus far? Does it feel like something that is right up your alley, or does it sound too difficult? Well, before you shoot this option down, wait. Let me tell you a little secret. Language proficiency, listening, comprehension, these are all skills, and skills can be learned. They can be improved and mastered. Knowing what is necessary to do the job right is the first step, and you just took it. Because nobody wants to be caught off guard when applying for a job. Also, take into consideration that most over-the-phone interpreting companies offer training courses that allow you to improve your skills rapidly and successfully. When I started my interpreting career, I was 18, turning 19, and had no prior interpreting experience. So I believe anybody can do interpreting. And that includes you. We just need to put in the right amount of effort. Now, if you're still interested in this job opportunity and want to learn more, check out our next video. We're going to talk about note-taking and short-term memory, specific skills to consecutive interpreting over the phone. Thank you so very much. Cheers.